Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth running organization. But there always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here's your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found the information on last week's show, Self-Love and Confidence in Business, informative. If you weren't able to join us and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as major favorite podcast platforms. If you'd like to be notified when we have uploaded those episodes, please like and subscribe. If there are topics you'd find beneficial or questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me at media@abandp.com. Now let's learn a little bit about our guest today. Adam Ouellete practiced law for 20 years and now helps businesses, law firms, and professionals with online programs, one-on-one consulting, and lots of training videos. His mission is to make being in business easier and fun. So Adam, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. Thanks, Candy.
I'm glad to have you. This is going to be another interesting topic, discussing how to get rid of those clients we maybe don't enjoy working with as much. But before we get into the questions I have for you, I would love for you just to share a little bit about yourself and how you even became an attorney and then started working with entrepreneurs.
Sure. Well, when I was in high school, I got sold a bill of goods as far as what being an attorney really is. And I didn't do the research that I should have did to actually see what I'd be doing all day long. But, you know, when you're a 19-year-old kid and you're trying to figure out what to do and figure out what kind of math or degree to get, it just seemed logical. I like to argue. So, I'll go to law school. So I went to law school and basically loved the business aspects of practicing law. Once I got out of law school and started practicing, I realized I want to bring in business. I want to figure out how to market and advertise. And my degree in college was a business marketing and management degree. So once I got out there and realized I didn't like the work that I was doing as a lawyer, and I became a partner in the law firm I went to work for really quick. The guy was practicing about 25 years and I was bringing in a lot of business. I just had that kind of intuitive understanding of how to connect with people. And I started networking pretty quickly. As soon as I got out of law school, even before I passed the bar or took the bar, I was out networking, trying to figure out who could send me business. And over the years, it was interesting. I was at first dealing with this guy's clients that I was working with. And as I became a law partner in 6 months, I started realizing I wanted to have a little bit more say about what kind of clients we kept, what kind of clients we brought in. And the clients were so difficult to deal with. And I'm like, you know, there's got to be a better way here. I need to figure out how to find these people that are my perfect clients. I found this book called Attracting Perfect Clients. And I'm like, I looked at the perfect in there. I'm like, is there such a thing? I don't know about that or not. But I said, you know, let me look at it. And I started to build a plan on how I was going to attract my ideal clients and then customers, because as time went on, I opened up other businesses that did real estate closings. I didn't need to be an attorney to do real estate closings. And ultimately, the way South Florida worked where I practiced law was that title companies were really the way that realtors sent business. So opened up title companies. And at that point, they went from clients to customers. So, I mean, I ended up having a law firm and the title company at the same time. So that ideal client attraction formula, what I call it, you can say customer, client, whatever you have, whatever it is that whoever you work with. But I realized that without taking a look at who I wanted, you know, I knew that I had some pretty decent clients and customers over the years. Figuring out that avatar, figuring out who it is I wanted to attract. Most businesses don't do this. And part of the challenge that I see businesses have, and, you know, I've helped loads of business incorporate, and they used to come to me when I was practicing law. Hey, I've got a problem. Hey, I need help, this, that, and the other. And when I looked at the really successful businesses, they had lots of customers. They had lots of clients coming in the door. Most businesses struggle because they don't have enough customers. And then the ones that they have really stink. You know? So once I moved from Florida to North Carolina, I decided I did not want to take the bar again or practice law any further. So I figured, let me take all this knowledge I've got and start doing some consulting with people one-on-one. And that grew. And ultimately, what I decided to do is take all this stuff I was teaching people one-on-one and package it up into a video series, video courses and stuff like that, so that people could learn at a whole lot less rate that I charge by the hour.
Very smart. So obviously we know what we're going to be talking about today, but I wanted to start with, because you started talking about finding your ideal customer, and there are some that might think even now, right, because there have been some challenges, like I just need to take any customers that find me. So first of all, I would love for you to touch on why maybe that's not the best idea. And then how can they develop the target market that they want to, follow, or that ideal customer that they should be looking for to really help them find who they really want to work with?
Great question. And in the legal practice, we call that door law. Whoever walks in the door, they hire you. And that was what my law partner back in the day was doing. Anybody that came in, we allowed them to be our client. And so one of the challenges with that, even in tougher markets, is that if you're not focused on who you really want to bring in and how to find them, you're going to spend a lot of time. And this was my main challenge, Candy. I'm spending so much time trying to appease these people that didn't appreciate the good work that we were doing, right, didn't appreciate us, didn't want to pay on time. And so I started to look at things a little bit differently. What I started to focus in on is, what is it that I'm doing marketing wise that isn't working? And what advertising can I do to help start to bring in more ideal customers or clients? And when I took a look at that bottom line, I realized my ideal customers could come from these referral partners that I had, which were realtors and mortgage people. And so one of the things that I do when I consult with people is I say, who are your best referral sources? Who are the people that can really send you some of these really amazing clients? And so as the top of the list was real estate agents for me at that time. And I developed a marketing campaign to wow them with my expertise. It's very similar to what you do on your website, right? Hey, look at me. I'm really good at what I do. You should hire me. But that's the pitch that most people will take as far as a small business. But what you do and what others need to do that are listening to this podcast is to take a look at, well, yes, you are good. You're probably at the upper echelon of the people in your niche, but that's what everybody says. That's the marketing message that everybody's got. Look past that. And how can you educate? How can you share information with your prospective clients and those that can send you referrals? And basically that's what your podcast is about, right? I mean, helping educate the people that work with you and your prospects. And so what I did was I took a look at the pain points. What were the pain points that these real estate agents had? And a big pain point were attorneys. Sadly, attorneys would come in. Hey, I know I've done it, because if a buyer came to me and said, hey, I want to hire you, take a look at this contract. Can you get me out of this contract? Because I really don't want to proceed. Well, if the real estate agent didn't do what they were supposed to do legally to fill in the blanks on these, because that's basically what it is, fill in the blanks on the contracts, and they forgot to dot an I or cross a T, I knew that was something intuitively I needed to train them on. So I started going out and doing these trainings in real estate offices. But this was back in 1998 when I first started practicing law. But as time went on, I decided I don't need to travel out there. I just can do videos and do webinars. GoToWebinar was big back then. Now it's Zoom, but I was doing these webinars and I was training these people. And then I created a campaign. Right. And it was Constant Contact back then. Constant Contact is still pretty big now, but I was using Constant Contact. So I was doing these videos because I knew that my ideal referral people, the ideal customers were going to come from these realtors. And I figured out what kind of personality does the realtor have? Because people that deal with these realtors that I want to deal with, they had gratitude for what we were doing and really appreciated what we were doing. And also this training aspect, good people were going to come from them. And so where are those people? What are they searching for? And I figured out they were searching for training on contracts. There was actually people out there searching, hey, I want to know these contracts better, how to put them together and all that. And so I started to do these trainings, and it would be an invite. They would come in, they would be on a live training, and then I would drip out 5 or 6 emails to them with other videos. And this was back in mid 2000s. And it was amazing what happened, Candy. I mean, it blew my mind. One of the things that started happening was I went from going out, networking, which I became pretty proficient at over the years, and created an online course about how to network and connect and grow your sphere of influence. But I started to realize it would take me 6 months to a year to really schmooze and, get people to trust me. Sometimes 2 years, because look, people have title companies and attorneys that they already refer. So why would I change, right? That's what they would tell me. But once they got my training, I call it giving to get. This is what you do. Giving to get, to help people, and you'll get referrals from that. So once they came through, they got on that training, they go, oh my God, this guy knows what he's talking about. Because I had a license, still do, to teach real estate school, and nobody knows a contract like an attorney that can teach real estate school. So they realized I had this expertise. They realized that I knew what I was doing. And then the emails after that were only building upon that, going from stranger to trust in a matter of 6 or 7 emails, which to me blew my mind. And I said, all right, there's something here I've got to focus in on. So then I started to do some Facebook ads to real estate agents in the county where we lived. And they were coming in this funnel, as I call it, as marketing experts call it, coming in the funnel on autopilot. This is the beauty of it, right? On autopilot. They're coming in, they're paying attention, which is what was on my list for these ideal referral prospects. They're paying attention, they're watching, they're eating up this stuff, right? They're eating it up. And then at the end of the 6, 7 emails, I think it was 6 or 7 back in the day, they're calling me and they're saying, Adam, how can I do business with you? And I'm like, whoa. Shifted the paradigm for me like few things have in business. And I realized that I needed to teach other people how to do this and how to put your attention on where the ideal client or customer is. Who are they? Build that avatar, build that ideal prospect in your mind. And one of the interesting things that happens, and it happens every time I teach this to anybody one-on-one and through my course, they'll email me or get on a group coaching with me and they'll say, I didn't know what to say before. I didn't know what to do as far as marketing. But when I brought that ideal customer prospect, the avatar up in my mind, they kind of told me what to do. And it sounds a little strange, but they're going to tell you where they hang out. What do they need from you? What's their pain that you're solving? Right? I mean, look at your business, Candy. The pain you're solving, there's multitudes of pain you're solving with your bookkeeping. Right. People screw that up big time. And hey, I was one of them. I don't know. I don't want to do it. I don't care to do it. I'm not good at it. Hey, let's get somebody to do it that really knows what they're doing. You don't have expertise. You think you're going to save some money. And in the end, it costs you a whole lot of money. And then you got to go hire an attorney who you never want to hire an attorney if you don't have to. So protect yourself and hire a good bookkeeping company like Candy so that you never have to deal with the likes of the attorneys out there, because it's a challenge.
Right. Or those government agencies that send you notices. Right?
That's it.
So that's my goal. So I know you mentioned during that you have like a formula that you can help explain how to find those right customers. So I know you've given some kind of tips, but are there other things like specifically step 1, step 2, step 3 that you would recommend?
Sure. First, you have to figure out what the ideal prospect, client, customer, whoever they are, what do they represent to you? And once you start to figure out the characteristics, not what they look like, but what do they represent to you, then you can start to hone in on what is it that they need from you in terms of being able to hyper target these people. And so I realized that these real estate agents and then, looking at how to attract the ideal clients to my law firm, where were they hanging out? Well, a lot of people are on YouTube today, social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I mean, if you have a business and you're in business, you need to be on LinkedIn. I mean, it's a tremendous, tremendous resource for anybody in business or anybody looking to grow their career. And what are people searching for? that's a huge thing. But first you have to look at what's the pain that causes them to search for something. Most people aren't going to search for anything unless, one, they have a problem, or two, they want to educate themselves about something. And most people today don't want to educate themselves about squat because they think they know it all, which, it's human nature. So they're going somewhere to try to find solutions to the pain that they've got. It's a problem that causes pain or physical pain, who knows, whatever it is you do. What is it that they're keying into YouTube or Google, search engines, and try to find a way to get in front of them with that search? I mean, it's called SEO, search engine optimization. And ultimately what I was doing was getting in front of them when they were going on YouTube, and these realtors are putting, the name of the contract was the FAR bar, Florida Association of Realtors, and the bar, the attorney bar, did this contract, and it was the main one that was used in Florida. And so they're going in there putting FAR bar contract training. But there was nobody doing it on YouTube in 2005 when I was doing it before that. But when I really started to do this campaign, still nobody was doing it. And ultimately, one of the couple people that were in there were only doing like 5-minute videos. So I did a bunch of different videos on that. And I got to where their pain was. They might have had a contract canceled by an attorney and really irritated them because, my mother's been a realtor. Go ahead.
I was going to say no commission, right? If the sale doesn't go through.
My mother, she got her real estate license in Florida when I was 9. So I grew up in that business, and I got licensed at 19. So one of the things that really helped me understand their pain was I put people in the car during my college years, sold properties and listed properties, and I knew what it takes. So I always asked, before that, why do realtors make so much money? Because it seems like they make a lot of money. Well, you have to go through a lot of buyers that never buy and listings that never sell, and not in the market right now. Everything's selling everywhere. There's people. But I realized that contract is so important to them because it's the culmination of God knows how many hours of work they did. So if somebody signs their name on the dotted line, then they need to make sure that that contract is as enforceable as can be. And that to them was more important than pretty much anything else that people were training in that space. So they were like, yeah, this guy's got a point. And I remember doing some of these trainings where people were, these agency brokers actually were telling me, Adam, I've been doing this wrong for 30 years. I said, well, luckily you never had a problem, but now you can clean up your act. So just looking at what their pain is and how you can step in and use your expertise. That's what content marketing is. This is what we've been talking about, right, Candy? Content marketing. It's really taking your expertise in your niche and being able to communicate it in a way that gets people interested in what you're doing. There was a great book by John Jantz that I read years ago called The Referral Engine. And he was the first one that ever introduced me personally to the possibility of taking someone who's a stranger, social media, out networking, or whatever it was, and going through the steps. And he's got specific steps, which are genius, which really helped guide me to figure this out early on. Stranger to trusted ally. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be that trusted ally. And I knew that because of what I was doing for so many years, I had so much information in my head that I wasn't sharing with others. And so what I did was flip the switch, take that stuff out of my head, put it somewhere so that I could assist the people that could send me business or that were prospects for my business in learning something and dealing with their pain. And so that content marketing piece, it's massive, and still nobody's doing it for the most part. Now, Candy, you are, and I got to give you kudos. My God, your website is killer. It's killer. You're doing it. And this is why you've been so successful. But the one thing I'd like to tell your audience today is, what is it that you could share with your ideal prospects that could help them in their lives and tie it together with the end result that you want? You want someone to be interested in what you're doing, the widget you're selling, the product or service that you're offering. Tie that together so that they say, man, this guy, this lady, she knows what she's doing, and I want to talk to her. I want to buy whatever she's selling or hire her to help me. It sets you apart. And the challenge you've got right now with COVID still going on, and now we've got a new variant, oh my goodness, is that people are shutting down. They're shutting down. They're afraid. The business lockdowns, we thought they were over. They're not. And ultimately, it's a lot more difficult to bring the business in right now than it has been since the market crash of 2007, when I had troubles back when I was a real estate attorney. This is exactly when I started to figure this stuff out. There was no business happening. There was nobody buying or selling, especially in South Florida. People were buying houses that should have been buying houses, and then the foreclosures and short sales and all that stuff. But that spurred me to figure out, how could I attract more people when I thought there was no business going on. Ultimately, it was a lot of stuff going on, just not as much as before. This is the same kind of situation small businesses are in now. And so, because there's lots of competition in every single niche out there, this kind of idea can help you to set yourself apart, as I like to call the masses of competition that we find in our niche, in our space.
Right. So now we've talked about kind of what do you need to do to attract that ideal client so that you hopefully aren't having to bring on the ones, that you don't necessarily want to work with. But what about now they maybe need to clean up the accounts that they have? They're, they don't have as much free time. So they want to eliminate some of those clients that they don't necessarily want to work with so much anymore. So what would you say to them to determine, how do you figure out who those people are that you should now maybe start to eliminate?
Yeah, and it's something that I had to look at. I went to a workshop just for lawyers, and these guys are up there and they're talking about these crappy clients, right? Okay, you got to grade them. I'm going, oh yeah, this was perfect timing, because I was just starting to realize I don't want these clients that this guy has, and he wasn't all that successful when I came to work for him. I wanted to blow the door off the sucker, right? And so they were saying, grade your clients, grade them A to F, like you're a teacher, grade them. And so I'm going through, I'm like C, C minus, D. Ooh, this one's an F. All of them fell with the C range or below. And I'm like, okay, got some work to do. First, I had to bring in some more to replace them, because you can't go out and fire all your clients or customers right off the block, because where are you going to get money to eat? So
exactly,
start to integrate some of the things that I'm sharing with you today and start to figure out who those ideals are. And they start coming in, but you've already graded all the ones you got. And you start with clearly the Fs, right? You start with the Fs, work your way down. And it was interesting, when I started firing some of those Ds and Fs, they looked at me like, are you nuts? And I'm like, no, I appreciate the fact that you worked with us in the past, but I think it's best you go find someone else to play patty cake with you and deal with all your BS. So, and then when I got into the C's, it just was like liberating for me, because I'm thinking, I'm dealing with people that I actually really enjoy dealing with, finally. And it just totally changes your outlook on coming to your office or flipping open your computer at home, however you work nowadays. It changes your outlook on and your perspective on your job, your career, your business. If you're dealing with, mostly people you really like and that you've attracted, it's so easy. It's simple. It's just like a wake-up call that all of us need. We all need this wake-up call, because most of us don't deal with people we like. So,
well, and some of us would probably understand the concept of grading them too, and having factors like, oh, they don't pay on time, or when they call, it starts to stress me out because it's never a good call or whatever. But like, what would you tell them how to actually grade them, to just give them that idea? If they've never done this before, they're not sure what to do, what would you say?
Well, realizing A is like the cream of the crop. And you're not going to start off attracting A's. Hopefully you'll start off attracting B's and then work your way up, because as you start to look at what you don't like about people, and I would just take each individual customer or client and start to list out what it's like to work with them. And as you begin to get better at that, you start to realize, I don't want to deal with someone that calls me 18 times and doesn't trust what I'm doing. Because look, if you're an expert in your space and you're doing your thing, they need to trust you. And if they're not, then, you get rid of them at a certain point. But start to look at all those characteristics of what you don't like. That will spur you to figure out the polar opposite of what you don't like. That will help you to put together. Now I have this worksheet, the formula in my course, where I literally will start to walk you through the steps of this. And so ultimately what it comes down to is most of it's the opposite of what you're getting. That's who you want. And
Right.
it's really for me and the people I've worked with, it's like the culmination list that you make of everything you don't like about the people you currently have. And you start to say, I could deal with some of this stuff for a while until I figure out how to attract my ideal people. But some of this other stuff is just, I can't negotiate with myself on it anymore because it's too much. We were dealing with some of these realtors who just would call every single day. And what I did at that point was I figured out a system, and I had somebody custom build it back in 2001 where they could log in and see exactly what was happening with their file. Nah, they want to call and bug everybody because they're bored. They're not attracting their ideal prospects. And so they're bored. Well, let me give the title company a call. I made this long list with my staff. And I said, what are the things that you just can't deal with anymore? And they looked at that and they're like, are you really telling us that we won't have to deal with some of these people? I'm like, yeah, but you got to come together with me as a team and figure out how to not only attract these people. I had good ideas on that, and I took the reign on that. But here's the other piece, Candy, that I think is so missing in small business today. You got to have your customer service up to an excellent level. Right. And one of the ways I did that was I systematized my businesses, which means I went through every single thing I did on a real estate transaction. We did. And I sat down with my team and I said, print out a list, because we had a pretty decent CRM back in the day that you have a checklist. And I said, we're going to add in this, we're going to add in that. How much time should it take to do these things? Systematize it. So we're getting reminders and nothing falls through the cracks. But then the automation process too, where, if there's documents that need to be done at a certain time, let's get some document prep software that we can automate this stuff with. And then look at that setup of everything you're doing for a client from start to finish. Prospective client, customer, to closing the file for them, depending on if you ever close file. Like in your business, you're never closing a file. Right. You're closing a tax year, right? But you're never closing file. For us, once the real estate closing's done, you close the file, the deed comes in and all that stuff. But how can you do every step of that better? That's huge. Because one of the things I realized, I was attracting all these ideal customers, but I didn't have my customer service set up to a place that was giving excellent service, because you just can't be good nowadays. There's a book, Good to Great. Great ain't going to cut it either. You've got to be excellent. You've got to be excellent. Right. And so one of the things I warn people about before I start working with them on this as an advisor or consultant is you better get your customer service lined up so that you're delivering excellent customer service from start to finish. Because what happened for me was the customer service wasn't up to snuff. And so I was out and I was schmoozing with this bank, and banks were a really good source of income for us. And this one bank sent us $1 million refinance, which to us, it's about a $3,000, check. Well, the lady that was working for us at the time, she messed up because I hadn't put processes in place to make sure that these errors didn't occur. And I blame myself more than anybody, even though this woman had been doing it for 30 years. I blame myself for not really looking at the processes that we had from start to finish. And that started a new set of expectations for me and my team. And it really did make such a difference, because now here we were attracting these ideal prospects that became customers or clients, and we were delivering excellent customer service to the end. You talk about referrals. You'll have to turn people away, which we did. We had to turn people away saying, we can't take any more business. I'm sorry. Or we scaled and grew to a point where I had 4 offices in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, where, we grew to a place where I was like, okay, this is enough. This is enough. I can't run around to all these offices, but it was a revelation to me, because scaling a business is difficult as well. So when you put that attracting factor in there, and then the customer service piece where you're systematizing and automating your businesses, you can scale and grow. And then the other piece here, because I know there might be a question coming here, because this is logical and you've got a pretty logical brain. So I'm getting this. You're a smart lady. That part where you need to hire a new team member, you have to look economically at when's the right time, because you don't want to wait too long because you'll clearly irritate people, but you don't want to hire too soon. So there's a video in the ideal client attraction formula where I talk about when's the right time to hire based on your finances, and so that you can continue to deliver that exceptional customer service, and you don't, irritate people that you've worked so hard to bring in.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well, and I know you talked A is cream of the crop, B, what would you say the definition for them is?
B is, they may be just a tad difficult, but you can look past it, because one of the things about A's is that there's not that many people that are A's in the world, right? So what I realized was if I could find A's, please, I would fill my coffers with A's, but B's are okay. B's are good. You can schmooze with B's enough to where if you get them on the phone and say, let's look at this. Let's look at this, because I really want to make you happy. But the A's, I wouldn't say that, but some of the other customers, they're just not asking these things of us, because they're, and maneuver them into a place where they can become A's. If you just are really sweet and nice about it, and just kind of maneuver them to a place of realizing, well, maybe it's not the best thing to do to call us every day or this, that, and the other. It's being open and honest with those B's and letting them know, hey, I really want to enjoy working with everyone that comes through my door. So here's what I kind of expect of the people I work with, so that we both don't waste time and that we both are happy at the end of the day. And I would get on the phone with people that were B's or B minuses, because I just knew and understood what to say to them. But it's just having a frank conversation, because look, if you're delivering excellent customer service, they're not going to be able to go anywhere else that's going to compare to what you're doing. And then you can start to say, here's what I expect of you as a customer, so that we all have the symbiosis and we just gel. And they'll realize, wow, I could be better at what I'm doing, and everybody could be happier. But ultimately, A minuses, that's who I had in my businesses, and I was happy with a B plus as well if they were, and I could always kind of maneuver them into that space where I wanted them to be.
And so, if someone's going to grade like a C, D, or F, how would you say, how do they place them in those categories? What are the factors?
I think it's difficult dealing with them. They're just difficult people. And ultimately for me, a C was someone that just didn't really appreciate what we were doing. And F's were, downright rude. This is South Florida, right? I mean, South Florida, there's just a lot of rude people. I don't know what it is. I think it's because it attracts people to the beaches and all that, but there's just downright nasty people. Those people went out as soon as I got back from the seminar, right? They were fired. But the C's basically were difficult, but they acted like they weren't, right? And when I started to look at the C's and I flipped them. I flipped some of the C's into B's and A's just because I had the long conversation with them. But the interesting thing about a C or a D is they don't want to pay you timely. That to me was the challenge, or they try to negotiate with you on what you charge. And so everybody that listens to this is charging a fair fee or rate or whatever it is. And to me, I didn't want to negotiate on that, because I had built in my costs and my expenses and the profit into that. And if I'm negotiating on that, if someone's asking me to take a cut based on everybody else charging something very similar, then I think that was probably the main factor. People negotiating with me on my fees that didn't want to pay timely, or just didn't want to pay what was reasonable, because I was charging a very reasonable fee. That is a C to me almost immediately. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, definitely. They don't see the value of the service that you provide. So now someone has identified, okay, I have my A, B, C, D, E, F list. How do I have that conversation with that client to kind of sever the relationship without it being too harsh, and, we can kind of leave on as friendly terms as possible?
Yeah. What I did, this is a good question. If nobody's ever asked me this question before, good thing I have an answer for you. One of the things I did was I sat down and made a list of the things that I appreciated about them, first and foremost. I always led with that. But one of the next steps to that was, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for doing business with us, because look, these people could go do business with anybody. And I was happy to have them go off and do something with someone else because, like I said, play patty cake with them. But what I then started to say was, we're getting busy. And as a result of us getting really busy, we can't do all this work anymore. And ultimately, I was brutally honest in a nice way, Candy. I would say, we haven't always seen eye to eye on some of these things. And as a result, I think maybe you need to go see or do business with somebody else. And I would always have referrals. I remember I was doing some family law and I always had somebody I could refer to, right? Because some of these people came in and they were like, I want to go after this guy or I want to go after her and take him for all his, no, I don't want to deal with that. But I always had someone I could refer them to because people in your space that you like and you may not want to send them some of these people, but maybe they're better for them. And I would say, I'm getting so busy and I really have to look at who's the best fit for us. And you know what they would say to me sometimes? Well, what can I do better? I'm like, okay, but that's what I'm saying. I flipped some C's into B pluses because they just didn't understand that they were being jerks. And ultimately, it's where we lived. People just, that's the way they lived. I mean, people would ride your tail and it's a big city. People just didn't realize that they were being like that. So I was able to flip a couple, not too many, just being honest and open with them. And they, most of them were like, okay, no problem. Thank you for telling me this. So,
and I assume that should be a phone call conversation.
Always a phone call. Emails just, would you break up with a girlfriend or boyfriend? If some people do, I think it's so rude.
You shouldn't.
No, people do it, but no, definitely a phone call. And if it's someone that you've done business with for a long time, that you have to kind of let down easy, take them out for coffee or something, once COVID's passed, or wear your mask or something.
If you can.
If you can, but you always got to do the right thing by everyone that comes across your doorstep as far as your virtual or office doorstep. And if they're a C, D, or F, they're not doing right by you. So don't feel too bad about it.
Right. Well, this has been great information. I know it's going to be helpful for the listeners because we all want to have those ideal clients and know how to bring them in, but also understand what we need to do to maybe remove some of those that aren't the best to be working with us. So thank you so much for doing that. But I'm sure you have an offer that you'd like to share. So I'd love you to tell the listeners about that.
Sure. I have some free videos to get you started, right? Candy did an amazing job today asking me some questions on what do you do and how is it? But I want to get you started with the steps to look at to content market and how do you advertise in different ways? How can you market so that you're showing that expertise? And so we'll have the link. It's adamouellette.com/ideal. There's some free videos there for you. It's a resource page that I put together with, I think, 3 or 4 videos. And you'll have an opportunity to check out my course if it's something you want to do. But these free videos are going to get you started with what's the first step to begin with and how to understand who is ideal and what characteristics do they possess that you really want to, deal with these people all day long, these ideal customers.
Okay. Exactly. And if anyone wants to reach you other than finding that offer, do you want to share maybe your social media connections or how to reach you by phone or email?
Phone number is 434-771-2030. It's my business cell. You can text or call. Email is AJO, like Adam John Ouellette, at adam.law. I just keep using that. It's my law address, but it's simple, it's quick, and adamouellette.com is a little bit out there, but what are you going to do? So it's just simpler.
Right.
And if you hit my webpage, which we will give that link, you can check out some of the social media. I've got lots of videos, but Candy, I think I've got about 150 videos on my list, building a team of assistants so that I can do this content marketing and share with people some tips and tools so that, they can run their businesses easier. This is exactly why you have your podcast, is to help and to share. And so I appreciate you and what you're doing because you're bringing a lot of good stuff to the world and the businesses out there. And so if you need a good bookkeeper, you better look to Candy because she's got it going on.
Well, thank you for that, Adam. I appreciate your being a guest on my show and sharing your expertise. And I also want to thank the listeners too for tuning in today. I hope you found this topic interesting and it answered some of your questions about how to fire difficult customers and attract ideal clients. If you have any additional questions or comments, be sure to reach out to Adam at any of the links he shared or send us a message at media@abandp.com. And would you please share our show information with those you know? I'd greatly appreciate your support. I hope you can join us for next week's topic, time management, work-life balance, and productivity. And remember, you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. Remember, you can also find the podcast posted on multiple favorite podcast platforms, including Google, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Until next time, have a great week.